Welcome to the One State Solution podcast. My name is Alon.
I'm Elik.
We are both anti-Zionists, and it says Israel on our passport, and it says Jewish on our identity cards, our Israeli identity cards.
Yes.
Okay, so today is a few days after Passover. This is Chol HaMoed, the combined secular and holiday, right? Chol is like a day that is not holy, and Moed is day that is holy, and it's like in between because it's in between the two nights of Passover.
Yes.
So the Seder was a few days ago, and we want to tell a little bit of experiences that we had in the Seder, in Passover, around Passover in general. And
People know we want to explain what Seder means, or
explain.
So Seder is like the ritual that's this holiday. It's the main ritual of this holiday.
Yeah.
And it's a feast that you drink a lot of wine and you read a text that is called Haggadah. I don't know if it has an English name,
I think it's just called Haggadah.
Yeah, and it tells the story of the Israelites who, liberated themselves from
slavery in Egypt.
And it's not true liberated themselves. It's very important in the Haggadah. It says over and over and over that God liberated them.
Yes, God liberated them
from the slavery in Egypt.
Yes.
By Pharaoh. And it's
this is a biblical story. Okay?
Yeah.
We have to say this is in Genesis. This is a biblical story.
Yes.
Is it in Genesis?
No, not Genesis. The one after. Shmot. How do you say it? I don't know how you say it.
I don't know how to say the second one in the Torah.
Shmot, and it continues after all I think because there's few books that they are in the desert. It's making
Bamidbar in the desert is the third book.
Yeah, okay. And it's a very, I think in the Jewish...
I just want to say, how do we know about this? We are secular people, both of us are atheists, okay?
Yes.
But in Israeli educational system, there is, from the second grade, I think, you start studying Torah, and there is a ceremony, you accept the Torah in second grade. You remember this?
It's done also in secular...
We had this.
Because I had it too, but I had a mixed religious and non-religious
we had it. Okay. Accepting the Torah, and then you start studying the Torah from Genesis and onwards, and you get to the books, and you study most of it, you know most of it by the end, I think.
Yeah.
On a very superficial level, I would say. But some teachers are better. I had a good Bible studies teacher when I was in junior high.
Because some of the stories are fascinating and dramatic, and like in some parts, like the Bible is really good literature. So,
yes, but in others, not so much. Yeah. But I also want to tell about an experience that I had with a professor that I really adore academically. His name is Henry Ungel, and you can look up videos by him, and they're mostly in Hebrew. And he analyzes art, and from a philosophical point of view, and he does like a lesson which is about the story of Cain and Abel. Like he reads it's chapter I think 2 or 3 or something, something very early in Genesis, and he analyzes it as like a work of art.
Yeah,
and I think it's fascinating. It's like about the moral dilemma of what can you do when you have been betrayed by God, by fate maybe? How will you react? Will you react with envy, jealousy?
Yeah.
How do you deal with what you do? Yeah. Like this is the story of Cain and Abel, because
it's
Cain
interesting stories.
Yes. And I imagine like people sitting around a campfire and telling these stories as like moral, riddles, to answer.
Yeah.
But now they have become stale, I think, and they've been used incorrectly.
Yeah, it's a whole question how we relate to the Bible as secular people and as like people who are, indoctrinated into Zionism and some form of Judaism that now we're currently rejecting.
Yes.
I don't know what is my relation to Judaism. To me, it's like opened because it was so connected to Zionism, and my rejection of Zionism also made me reject my Judaism.
Yes.
But
Yes,
I don't know,
yes.
maybe there's some form of cultural way that I can relate to my Judaism, and I do put some. I think it has a meaning that my ancestors were working this religion. It does have meaning. I don't know how I look at it myself.
Yes.
And it has meaning that we, even though it was through the lens of Zionism, we were forced to do these rituals. And as a kid, I loved them. I think kids.
Yeah, some of them are really nice.
Because I think.
But I was allergic to the whole religious aspect of everything.
Yeah, but I remember as a child, you like it that it's a special day. You like it that the family get together.
Yes,
you like
Yom Kippur, you ride the bike, and there's like certain traditions. That
and you don't.
I love, I want to say this. I love the Seder.
Yeah.
I love it. It's like fun. You read the Haggadah and it's a stupid text, like really horrible, okay? But in some senses, very interesting, and we might discuss this in this episode. Like very interesting, and if you read it like from an ironic distance, it's really like interesting, not as a like ritual that you have to do, and it's like weird, and it's like OCD to the max, But it has certain interesting aspects to it.
Yeah. So we want a bit to share the experience we had, right, with this.
Yes. But also let me just say, Passover. One of the main themes of Passover is freedom. It's called the holiday of freedom, Chag HaChirut.
Yeah.
And why? Because we celebrate the liberation of our forefathers from slavery.
Yeah.
So you want to celebrate freedom. And I think, especially in Israel, it's very weird to celebrate freedom.
Yes.
And this is the irony that we want to talk about, this tension, this contradiction, this inherent contradiction between people talking about freedom all over and people not being free, like very much not free, several dozens of kilometers away from their home, and also them not being free, not really free.
Yeah.
In their minds are not really free.
This irony is so strong that, every Passover, I think now everything is more crazy and severe, but every Passover there is a Seger, how do you say?
Seger.
Like when they... Quarantine on the West Bank.
Yes.
Like all the peoples have, so the Jews can sit and
celebrate freedom.
And celebrate freedom.
Yes.
And the thing with Passover and any Jewish holiday, the Zionists took all the stuff that was relevant to their message.
Yes.
And so what does it mean, freedom, in how we grew up? It's to have a Jewish state.
Yes.
This is the expression of the freedom.
And the last sentence of the Haggadah, the last sentence of the Haggadah is L'shana haba b'Yerushalayim habnuya.
Yes.
So next year we will be in Jerusalem. Habnuya means built, Jerusalem that was built. But what does it mean? What do they explain to you that it means? Jerusalem with the third temple, right? Built with the third temple. So this is very, like, it's religiously fanatic. It's just and we read it every.
And for we as seculars read it and we laugh about it, but there are very strong forces here
that really believe it.
That believe it, and they really think now we're acting upon it, and
And the genocide is part of it. The genocide in Gaza is part of their messianic, religious, fundamentalist story.
Yeah, just like the Christian Zionists that we did an episode, we're gonna upload it soon.
Yes, on Yala, our other podcast on Elik's channel, Sound of Anarchy. We talked to Nathan Jordan, who explained to us, he grew up in this cult, he says that it's a cult, of the evangelical Christians, who are mainly Zionist, and there are tens of millions of them in the US, and they are a powerful fundamentalist force. And one of the alliances is between these Zionists and the Jewish Zionists here in Israel and all around the world.
Yeah, and they both have like apocalyptic result that they work for, and but in both of their agendas, the other, like the Christians believe that the Jews gonna be killed, the Jews gonna believe that everyone else is gonna be killed.
Yeah, and all of them believe that they will go to paradise in this, or live in paradise on earth.
But I think they're collaborating, and they are aware that the end result is opposite what they want, but right now they serve each other interests, and they're working towards that goal.
It's a pact from the devil.
Yeah.
And I think both of them both of these groups and all the other groups that are supporting all the oppressive projects around the world, and Zionism in particular, are not bringing any salvation to anyone. They are bringing hell upon earth here.
Yeah.
And this is hell right now, and this has been the 200th day of the war, I think, either today or yesterday, the 200th day of the genocide, and how many people were killed? Like officially, almost 40,000 Palestinians were killed. Hundreds of Jewish Israeli soldiers. So many casualties, so much suffering, so much destruction. The Gaza Strip has been destroyed completely. Everything was destroyed completely. There is hunger, there is thirst, there is desperation there.
Yeah, and they're still
celebrating freedom here.
Celebrating freedom, and
here in occupied Palestine.
And still, like, people are in Israel are like, the genocidal language didn't disappear.
Yes.
Like, I remember when there was just the events of 7th of October, you would thought, okay, it's a crazy reaction, a crazy thing.
Yes, but we are 200 days later.
Yeah, we're 200, and still people in main TV channels calling for the extermination of the Gaza Strip. It's still happening. No one feels it's like something that people should be outraged about.
A few people are waking up. A few people from the Zionist left are waking up a little bit.
Too little, too late, let's say, but we still don't want to reject.
And from the wrong reasons, not because they care about the Palestinians, but because they're saying that this war is not achieving its goals. This is what they are saying. This is the most that they are willing to say.
Yeah, no, but I must say that few people are more recognizing that there is a genocide going on.
Yes, a few more people, yes.
There are few, but every person, to me, I fight for every single mind,
Yes.
And I shared a post of Israeli professor that tells documented what happened in Gaza. And I shared
excruciating detail.
Yeah, and I posted on Facebook. Most of the comments were like, I don't know, shameful.
Yes, denial of reality, and they didn't even watch it.
They didn't want. But one friend I saw shared my post, and he said, "I'm beginning to understand that what's going on in Gaza is genocide. I don't know what to do about it." He's a very brave and honest person, and I must say that his brother died in a terror attack a few years ago, and he come from very religious right-wing family, and he's so he's
going through the process.
Yeah, and I think there are.
It's very hard at this time here.
Yeah.
Even now, it's very hard to speak up against Zionism and to even say that this is a genocide. Yeah. Just so maybe I will tell my experiences from last weekend. So I went with my girlfriend and with two friends, you know them, Dan and Ayelet, who we had over on Yala.
Mm-hmm.
We went to a protest in Haifa, and I reported on this on my Instagram account. I will just give a brief summary. So we went, this was a Zionist protest, okay? To demand the release of the hostages.
Yeah.
And this is fake because they will not do the deal, they will not do a ceasefire, and they still demand to release the hostages, God knows how.
But the people in the protest don't call for an end?
No, no.
I thought they already do.
No, most of the Zionists, as far as I saw, they did not. They called against Bibi's government, but not against the war. What they call a war. And then, so
we want somebody else to do exactly the same things.
Yes.
We don't want you. We want other people to kill and be dumb and stupid. You know, that's what.
And Yair Lapid spoke at this protest. Okay, Yair Lapid, who is a very centrist, extremely centrist.
Yeah. Extreme centrism.
Yeah, extreme center. It's called the extreme center. They are the extreme center. They believe in nothing.
They're the real nihilists.
Yes, but they believe in Zionism. But they do believe in Zionism. That's the only thing they believe in Zionism.
But it's not because they believe in Zionism. They believe in the contemporary ruling ideology, whatever it is. Here it's Zionism.
Yeah. Okay. In any other place they would be what that other place is.
Yeah.
Okay, so in this protest there was a group called the Bloc Against the Occupation, okay? And I joined them, and I thought that they would be radical. And they said some slogans, okay? They said some slogans that were they were against the war, okay? And they said, in Gaza and in Sderot, children want to live, okay? And they said, we want a ceasefire now. And they said, from the river to the sea, freedom and equality, okay?
Yeah, but it's like super radical for Israel to say this stuff.
Yes, it's considered very radical, but at some point, so we reached the end of the march, okay, and I was fed up with these niceties, and I said, stop the genocide. I said it in Hebrew and in English.
I saw the
stop.
video.
Yeah, and Ayelet took a video of me, and I uploaded it to Instagram, and very few people joined me, okay, the three friends, my girlfriend and Ayelet and Dan, they joined me, and one older lady that was there, and one younger girl who I know who is radical, and that's about it.
You know what I thought when I saw this video that I see you shouting?
Okay.
First of all, I thought about this sentence of that I heard from Terence McKenna. If you're right, you're a majority of one. And you know why I thought that? Because many people there could try to shut you up. Because they were really, you see that they're in discomfort.
Yes, and many people did try to shut me up, I just have to say this.
Yes. But it felt like you have so much like spiritual strength that you were like many people. Like you were like really, like people look and they're like, okay, like it's like they look at you and they look small and you look like big, you know, like that's how I felt. Like it was really, I watched it many times.
Thank you. And I had mixed feelings in that moment because it's very hard. It's very hard, but I just had to like release, like put aside the part of my brain that cares how I look, you know. And this is powerful because most people limit themselves by activating that part too much.
That's what I meant, you know, when people see someone who doesn't care what they kind of deep in their heart they appreciate it. I think some of them.
So maybe this is the energy that I need to put out more.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the point was that many in those it's not the radical bloc. The radical bloc are a different group, and they are actually radical. But this in the bloc against the occupation, which I thought were radical, some people tried to silence me. A person from Shalom Achshav.
Because of the word genocide?
Because I said genocide, and they like had an agreement that they wouldn't say genocide because they don't want to alienate people, they don't want to create antagonism, you know, all this bullshit. All this liberal bullshit. And they present themselves as leftists, but they are not leftists, they are centrists, it's the same, you see? They want to say what is accepted. They don't want to say what is not accepted. If it's outside the what is it called, the overtone window, then they will not say it. And they say that it is more pragmatical, but this pragmatism brought us here, okay, to genocide. So I don't want to continue this pragmatism anymore. Anyway, so let's talk about our experiences. You want to start from like around the Seder?
Yeah. So first I will say I had many thoughts. At some point I thought I would not going to join the family dinner. You did an alternative radical
okay, so this is like the end of my story, but we also had a lot of back and forth between me and my father and my sisters and my mother and everybody involved, and my cousins and everyone involved.
Yeah, I just knew, maybe you will tell after, but that there's option of doing radical,
But it was the first time in my life, that I was not with my family in the Seder. Okay, and this hurt very deeply.
Yeah.
And I know that, you know, the way that other people were hurt by this horrible violence that is surrounding us is sometimes way worse, but still this really hurt.
Yes. And I thought also not to go, also with solidarity with you. But at the end, like I talked to my mother and I talked to my sister and I felt like everything feels so fragile right now, you know, and my mother really works hard to make the family like kept together, which it feels like it can fall apart in any moment.
Yes.
And I don't know where I'm going to be in the next couple of years. Like it's on the table that maybe I will leave, my sister talking about leaving this place.
Yes.
And it feels like if we have moment with the family, like we need to
Yes.
to go. And I told my mother, look, I come, but I cannot promise not to talk about what's going on.
Yes.
I am going to talk about it in some way or another. I will try to be respectful, and also please understand it and don't try to shut me up if I do so, because I'm not going to shut up about it.
Yes.
And it's a very weird situation because one of my cousins served in Gaza in the beginning of the war. Other uncle of two actually. There was also, and I don't know if they both been inside Gaza, but they got conscripted to the army, and many people after 7th of October, and I can say I can understand it on some level, feel like we have to go and protect our people, And I already knew it's going to be genocide from the beginning.
Yes, it was very clear from the moment that I understood the dimension of 7th of October. It was it's just simple multiples, at this point.
And
the
to me,
machine is very deterministic.
Yeah, it's deterministic, and it seemed very logical to me how they're gonna manipulate this to make people not compassionate to the Palestinians. And also eager to do something aggressive for self-defense. And I understood, I understood why they wanted to go, but what I kind of don't understand that how they keep supporting it.
Yes,
even now, because I understand
temporary insanity. You can understand temporary insanity, but this is permanent insanity at this point.
This is permanent, and I'm becoming less and less compassionate and forgiving in a way to my people.
I'm becoming more and more compassionate.
Really?
Yes. It is
both ways.
Because I am forced. I'm forced to understand what is going on with them. I am forced to engage with what is going on, and I think that once you engage honestly with what is going on, you cannot help but have compassion for everyone involved.
I agree with you.
And the more I learn, the more I see the crimes of Zionism, but I also see the crimes of Zionism against the Zionists.
Yeah.
And then I can see everyone as victims of what is going on here. Some victims are more to blame than other victims, but everybody here are victims in some sense.
Yes.
And I see it, I just see it as a fact,
I think this is part of our subject of the...
They're all good people.
Yes.
They're all good people, and we had a lot of doubt whether we want to talk about these things, and we always carry the doubt because we want to speak very openly, and we want to tell about our personal experiences because we think that they teach a lot about the cult of Zionism and how it operates, but we also feel fear to expose ourselves and people of our family, and we thought that if we want to do it, then the best way to do it is to say that we want to bring radical compassion to this situation, to everybody involved in this situation, and we feel that radical compassion is the only way to really, truly bring healing to this land and to the people of this land and to animals in this land.
Yes, and I also want to say that for me, if I have to put the subject of this episode, is that I think true liberation for us is also liberation from Zionism. We don't buy this story that Zionism is the movement of Jewish liberation.
No, it isn't.
We don't buy
it. It is
that.
Jewish enslavement. This is what we think. It is Jewish enslavement to, we were talking before, and we imagine this as a demon or a god or a part demon, part god that demands sacrifices, more and more and more sacrifices. And it has demanded tens of thousands of sacrifices in the last 6 months, in the last 200 days.
And I think every fascist cult is built on the concept of sacrifice.
Yes. Also Christianity.
Yeah, and you have to, and it's always both. You have to sacrifice some helpless victim, but you also
the sacrificial lamb.
Yeah, the sacrificial lamb. So you need to kill innocents. You have to do stuff that are against your own morality.
Yes, you have to sacrifice your own morality as well. This is the other side.
And that's the sacrifice of the soul. That's what it means to sell your soul to the devil.
Yes.
But you also sacrifice yourself, if it's sacrificing your own life because you go to die in some war, or you sacrifice your joy, you sacrifice your belief of
your sense of security.
Yeah, your sense of security.
So many things are being sacrificed by
meaning to life.
Yes.
Many times I tell my Zionist friends, like, if I would believe like you that this is necessary, I would kill myself. It's a world that doesn't worth living in if we can't avoid this logic of killing others in order.
Yes.
So
yes. So I want to say about this that I think this is the true meaning of karma. Okay, and I've been thinking about this more and more and more in the last few months, and I've been thinking about this for years. Like, how do I understand what karma is? And the best explanation that I got is that all you have is your consciousness. Really, in the end, all you have is your consciousness, and if you do things that you know are wrong, you have to block your consciousness in some sense, and then your consciousness becomes rigid. It becomes it is like a cage. Okay, all these defense mechanisms, and when we talk to Zionists, we see all these defense mechanisms operated against us because we are going against the cult. And I think that these defense mechanisms are a cage that people are building around them, and this makes them suffer. And this is true karma. Okay, and when I look at Palestinians, yes, they are suffering physically very much, but I see them as people who are in their consciousness, in their soul, they are much more free than the average Zionist that I see. They speak much more clearly. They see what is going on. They have to see what is going on because their lives depend on it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, like the Palestinians are more enslaved in their body.
Yes.
And the Zionist, in a way, is more enslaved in their mind.
Yes, yes. But like everyone are enslaved.
And everyone are enslaved.
Yes, yes.
Like, it's very, to generalize, but yeah, I believe.
And you see this in the Haggadah, right? You see this in the Haggadah. There is this sentence, בכל דור ודור קמים עלינו לכלותנו. In every generation, they rise upon us to annihilate us, to destroy us. And this is the eternal victim mentality of the Jewish people, okay? And yes, it is based on history as well. And the Holocaust was the pinnacle of this, yes? But they connect it. You see, they connect it in a mystical way, a mystical perception of time and of fate of the Jewish people. And they say, okay, so Pharaoh tried to destroy us and enslave us in Egypt. This is the tale of the Haggadah. And then in Purim, there is the tale of Achashverosh, Xerxes, who wanted to destroy the Jews in all of Persia, in all of the kingdom of Persia. And then you have the Holocaust, and you have what other in Hanukkah. So this is Antiochus, the Greek Caesar who wanted to destroy the Jews, and it's the story. And every holiday, Sukkot, okay, Hanukkah.
Sukkot no.
No, Sukkot no, but
Hanukkah,
Lag BaOmer, Purim, Passover, and of course Veterans Day, Veterans Memorial Day, or Memorial Day for the casualties of the wars of Israel and the terrorist attacks, okay, or the terrorist attacks, and then and before that Holocaust Day, and you just get a calendar full of persecution.
Yes, I don't know. It's a question I have, how much it's inherent to Judaism or it's the parts that the Zionists move in, because you can read also the Haggadah as a text that tells the Jews, you're like, God saves you, and you know that's the more ultra-Orthodox way, and that way goes against Zionism, because they say, don't try to do, like, accept the Judaism. I don't know if what I think about it, but it was based many years on, like, don't try to do God's work. And I think I think the more ultra-Orthodox read it that way.
Yes.
Like, and that's why they don't, but the Zionist way is always like the real God of the Zionist holiday.
But this is also ironic, but yes.
It's the state. The state is the real God.
But it's always a tale of being enslaved to a God.
Yeah.
And they celebrate freedom by celebrating their enslavement to some sort of God.
Yeah.
And this is the irony of it all.
Yeah.
And I want to make a remark that this irony is not new to me. It's not only in this subject, and what really bothered me more and more ever since I became vegan and I started thinking about non-human animal liberation and the way that humanity enslaves other animals and colonizes other animals. Um, and it was always weird to me that we celebrate freedom and eat a meal that contains the corpses of animals that were enslaved and killed for us. And this contradiction became more and more and more powerful in my mind. And at some point, it was last year. So last year, I finally said I will not attend any event that contains the corpses of animals or the products of enslavement of animals. And this was kind of a prelude to what is going on now, because last year, so the immediate family, they have all of our meals are vegan, 100% vegan, okay? But one of my aunt's family, like her side of the family, they really want their meat, okay? And when we do Passover, it's usually together, but in that year I said I cannot attend a meal that contains the corpses of animals, and they chose not to do their own Seder, and my dad said I cannot imagine a Seder without you, so I will do a Seder with the side of the family that wants to have a vegan meal, and this year it didn't happen. So over this subject, it didn't happen.
Yes.
Yes.
So I went to the Seder with my family. Yes,
you went. Your mother convinced you.
My mother, another friend that I loved, convinced me, and you know, I don't want to say, I feel that family is also can be some kind of a cult, and maybe it was a surrender to the cult and of family, and I think the cult of Zionism and the cult of family and it's
are interlinked.
And it's not that I'm thinking people should, cut ties with their families. I'm just thinking that this ritual and your mother is gonna be so sad if you don't come. And
that's the difficult part of it all. That your mother will be sad if you don't come. It is a fact. It is a fact, and I am sad that I could not celebrate this holiday with my family. I am sad, and I think you are sad as well. That it's such that the relationship is so strained, right?
Yes,
and it is sad. It's not just.
And I want to say I am in a Zionist family. The only non-anti-Zionist that exists in my family is me and my sister.
Yes.
Like, thank God I have my sister. Really, like I feel it's one of the only things that keep me sane. Like you and my sister, and couple.
And our friends.
And our friends.
A few of them. Yes.
And I also wanted to be. My sister decided she goes, and I wanted to be with solidarity with her.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
And because we need to back each other if there is an argument. Like, I feel like we had. Now maybe I'll start to describe the conversations that I had, because I decided to come.
But I want to just say that my experience really mirrors yours. Okay. I want to say about my experiences before the Seder. Okay. So you all watched episode 4.5 of One State Solution, right? The special episode where I tell about the argument that I had with my family. And this is not solved yet, okay?
Yes.
And this is really difficult for me. And I tried to solve it as best as I can. And it reached a situation where I was just like, okay, I will not talk about Gaza in the Seder, okay?
You agreed.
I agreed to this condition, and this did not help.
Wow.
And I must say that
just the Zionists towards the Palestinians, you don't agree to our terms. Okay, we agree. We continue to, it's the same.
Yes, and you know what? In hindsight, I'm not surprised, because this is what I expected. That no matter, the fact that I went against this cult so aggressively, just there is no way that I can redeem myself now.
Yeah.
And this has happened to me so many times in my life, and now it is happening with my family.
Like Daniel Matis said, the door swings one way.
Yes.
The moment you spoke up and you started walking your talk and talking your walk, it's
yes.
Yeah.
And I knew that my father, like your mother, really, really wanted this to happen, and it was very important for him. And I said, yes, okay, I agreed to this. And then my sisters really they didn't want to do it, and there were like other problems in the family that were combined with this, and it didn't happen. So Tamar and I went to a radical Seder with Dan and Ayelet. They are becoming very good friends, and
I'm a bit jealous at you that like you had no choice.
yeah, the grass is always greener.
Because it's more fun.
But I also want to say that we will hear about Elik's experiences, but I think that you didn't surrender to the cult at all because you talked.
Yes.
Because you talked.
Yeah, I did.
And you know what? Even if I agreed not to talk, still, I don't think it's surrendering to the cult. I think that every one of us has our own personal relationships, and it is very important to keep personal relationships and to keep a good relationship with your family. This is a principle that is a basic principle. I think it's not less basic than my morality. Okay,
Yes.
this is part of my morality, and one of the 10 commandments is honor thy father and thy mother.
Yes.
And I think that it is a beautiful one. Okay,
Yeah.
because honoring anyone is good.
Yeah,
And respecting everyone
especially
is
the
good.
people who gave you life and provided you
Yes.
with shelter and food
And my
love
father,
for
you
so
know,
many
my father
years.
really, really tried his best to keep everything.
Yeah.
And he couldn't, he just couldn't. And I felt
know.
sorry for
Talk
this.
to him.
Yes, we talked to him as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's now talk about your experiences.
Okay, so I decided to come. I met all the people that each one of them, I cannot say honestly about any person from my family that I don't love them. Like they're all cute, good people. They always been kind to me. Always, you know. And I know that for many families it's not like this. Like to me, it was never a family that you go because you have to. Like I'm always happy to meet the people.
Yes, on a personal level, everything is a-okay. This is what you're saying.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, there are different level of involvement in each other's life, but I have some kind of intimacy with almost all of them.
Yes.
And I shared, and they know my journey, and they know my music, and they know my opinions.
Yes.
And
to various levels.
Yeah, to various levels. And you know and we started the ritual, and I was and you know, it starts, and I have this horrible feeling, you know, that we're sitting and feasting while people are starving in Gaza. And, and I have you know, in my hand at some point, like they were singing, and I had the recording of I heard of Hind Rajab. You heard about her?
No.
It's a Palestinian girl who died in the most horrific way.
She called from the car.
Yeah, and there's the recording of her voice, and it's really, since I heard this recording, it's like this stuck in my head, and it pops up, and I was there, and I was really at some point almost crying, and on the other hand, I was you know, with them. I was singing, and this is, you know, my life here is like this. I'm alive. I can't say that when I meet people, I don't allow myself to be nice and to sing and to celebrate, but there's also
there's this gap.
This gap.
This abyss.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I don't remember how the conversation about the situation started. But let's say I was sitting in front with my sister and in front of one of my cousins, and we started talking about the situation. Now, I know that I have an uncle who just had some heart surgery or something, that he's super right wing. He's super ultra Zionist.
And he cannot get upset, right?
Yeah, and he cannot.
The doctors said, you cannot get upset.
So the moment I started talking about it with my cousin, which is his son, my mother got it, and she tried to keep him occupied in other stuff. They started singing, and she tried to really... That's smart. Yeah, that's what I really understood, that's what's happening. And you know, and on the other side of the table, there was another cousin who served in Gaza, you know, and I felt that he is also understood that we're talking about it, but he didn't join the conversation.
He didn't want to join.
He didn't want to join, and I also felt like difficult to confront him, you know, and I don't know what he experienced. And it's really fragile situation because I don't know, like on the other hand, maybe he did horrible stuff, I don't know.
And maybe he experienced horrible
Maybe,
stuff.
and maybe
And
he's
probably
traumatized.
Both. Probably both.
Yeah.
To some extent.
To some extent.
Yes.
Now, I really hope he didn't get to shoot somebody. Maybe many people I talked to were also just like, you know, in the surroundings. I hope he did something like that, but I don't know. I didn't ask him. And I don't know what his experience, and he was there. He was talking, and I started talking and saying my views, like very in a very unapologetic way.
Yes.
And this.
And I just want to say I see how on Facebook and like in general you are becoming more and more direct in the way that you are speaking, and you are more and more sure of yourself, and you are more connected to your own morality, and I really appreciate this process that you are going through. I think it's beautiful.
It's still a process, yes, but you know, I find myself write and say stuff. I used to be such a always Mr. Nice guy. And now we're telling people like, you disgust me, you have no moral values, you're cowards. I tell stuff like,
if you feel like this is what needs to be said, then I say it.
Yeah, I'm tired of like being nice all the time.
Yes.
Because I feel like, okay, I gave you many months to get over the trauma.
Yeah.
Now shake yourself, because there's a genocide going up in your name for already half a year, and it seems like nobody of the people in charge want to stop it.
Yes.
And it's going like, you know, we're
and also the people not in charge. No one wants to stop it.
No one wants to stop it.
Like very few people want to stop it.
Yeah, and the moment you say something, you're aligning with our enemies, and
this is fascism.
Yeah.
If it is not okay to say something, to speak my mind, this is fascism. This is the very definition of fascism. I'm sorry, guys. If I am not allowed to speak my mind freely without having such horrible repercussions, and we are both experiencing horrible repercussions, then this is fascism.
Yes.
This is just like basic facts, you know?
Yes.
There is no freedom of speech here. There is no freedom of speech.
Yeah.
And people are being arrested for saying things that are just facts. That are just facts, and maybe they're mild opinions about these facts, and they are being arrested. And we will do an episode about political persecution here. Like a special episode about, like an episode dedicated to all the political persecution that has been going on here since October 7th.
Yeah, we need to talk about it.
Yes.
We need to talk about it. And in this in this conversation, what like I wanna kind of say what the positions that were made, and then to get to the what I think, because I want us to kind of get to the conclusions about it, and maybe you will help me to understand also. Because my cousin talked about like all the horrors that happened in October 7th, and he reminded me how horrible it was.
Yes.
Because in a way, he kind of described, and you remember there was this girl who was Shani Luke, that they took her body and paraded, and many Gazans were celebrating over her body. And this picture kind of, you know, it got inside the Israeli collective. And when people think about this image, which I must say many of the images that were prompted up about the October 7th didn't happen, but this one did. Okay. And I saw this picture, and I felt like, and he said, look, when I saw that, I don't know what to tell you, but I kind of lost my compassion to what happened to the people in Gaza.
Yes.
And this is state of mind that is very common in Israel, and I feel
a lot of people that I know say similar things.
Yeah, and every time when I meet this, I don't know what to. And my sister like said something. She said, "Okay, but do you think that this loss of compassion is a good thing, or you want to try to work on yourself to change it? Because you know that these are human beings that getting killed, and at the end, the more horrible one is the one that is committing crime to more people.
Yes.
That's in the bottom line, and you see that we killed almost 40,000 or even more. I don't know.
Yes.
And I felt like, how do you like? And in a way, he said, no, they're just a number to me. I don't.
Okay. So I have several.
And he said we would never parade a woman's body like this in our streets. Never. That's like what he said. Israelis will never do such things.
So what did you answer? I have several thoughts about this, but maybe start with what you answered him.
I remember I felt I was kind of shocked, and it happens to me many times when I talk to people, because I'm thinking like, I'm sitting in front of a person who says like out loud that he's not ashamed, that he doesn't have compassion to the death of 40,000 people, which is astronomous number, astronomical number.
Yes.
And you know, when I talk about numbers, it always doing this dehumanization effect. I also don't know when I say 40,000, how do you grasp? But it's also what we learn about the Holocaust, that like you say 6 million, and you think like it's fucking... I also don't feel anything when I say 6 million Jews, and part of the horror that you think it's so huge, and
it's hard to imagine.
Yeah, and
it's hard to fathom.
And it's always what I feel about this conflict, you know, that maybe the Palestinians are inflicting more like graphical, which is also not happening. Like there's all the stuff that the Palestinians were blamed is already also committed by the IDF, like the graphical stuff, like you know, the torture and the sexual violence. I saw so like huge amount of evidence of like what happened to Palestinian detainees, for example.
Yes.
It's not different in
It's not qualitatively different.
No. It's not qualitatively different.
No.
But also I think, okay, but this is, you know, people who are like good, who will never inflict violence, who will never parade a naked woman's body in like barbarism, at least in their normal life. I think also
things that are happening in Gaza, where it's free for all, are really atrocious. Yes. Yes, probably. They just found a grave of 300 bodies next to a hospital, which is like this is like the same kind of stories that we heard from the Holocaust. Same kind of stories.
There are so many stories that if you just tell the stories and you tell Jews like who did it, they would, and don't tell them it's a Zionist soldier, they would think it's
a Nazi in the 1940s. Yes, I have so many thoughts about this. I will try to
go for it,
because this is I think a very deep question, and I think this is like our entire discussion in some sense over all of this podcast and this episode in particular, and especially, is about this contradiction of good people saying horrible things, supporting horrible things, doing horrible things.
Yes.
People who we know are good in any other sense. Okay?
Yes.
Or good at their core, or we can see their goodness, or we can see their good intentions, or we can see their good heart, or we can see their minds and we can see their fear.
Yeah.
And I think this is the contradiction that we have to kind of deconstruct.
Yeah.
Okay? Because when you see a contradiction, you understood something wrong. Okay? So you need to like untie this.
Yeah.
And realize that how it all can be true at the same time. And we talk a lot about separating the person from the virus. And really this helps me understand what is going on, that there is a virus. And really, like I can even explain this scientifically, okay? So Richard Dawkins, who will be criticized in some future episode of some podcast that we will do, or I will do, because he is a story within himself. But in his book... No, not. Because I think that Richard Dawkins is... Like, his book, The Selfish Gene, I think is...
It's a very good one.
It's very deep.
Yeah.
Okay, it's very deep. I read it like a decade ago, and it really like there is scientific merit to this book, and also there is scientific merit to the one of the many ideas that he raised in this book was the idea of memes.
Yeah.
Okay, and memes they work in a similar way to genes, and there is pressure, like environmental pressure on memes, and they go through a process of evolution, and the medium in which they go through the process of evolution is people's minds. And religion is a meme, and this connects actually to what Yuval Noah Harari is talking about, the intersubjective reality.
Susan Blackmore, like she is a student of Richard
Oh,
Dawkins,
okay,
and she took this meme idea and made the whole. Because I think he mentions it as an option to think about it, and she takes this idea and really develops it.
So I read the 30th anniversary edition of the Selfish Gene, and in the first edition, in the end, he mentions this idea of memes as a hypothetical possibility.
Yeah, so she takes.
And then in the 30th anniversary edition, he says it as a scientific fact. He just explains it as a scientific theory that has merit, that has evidence. And in short, religions are memes that go from generation to generation and evolve, and they develop like defense mechanisms, So for example, the idea that you have to educate your children to the same religion, that you don't ask them what religion seems right to them, you say to them what religion is right to them, and this is a survival tactic for the meme of religion, and for all ideologies, and all ideologies are memes, and art is also memes, but some memes are more malicious, and some memes are more nice. Like some organisms are more malicious, and some organisms are more nice. And the memes of ideology, I consider them as viruses on the human mind. They eat. This relates to the idea of a god. God is also a meme, of a god and a demon who is eating and demanding sacrifice, and this is the virus. The virus. Yeah, I really relate to zombie movies, because it describes like this kind of virus or illness or some kind of thing that spreads through the population, and the body remains in some sense intact, but the mind is attacked, and then the person becomes a mindless machine that only wants to eat more and more. And I feel like the virus of all ideologies, and especially the very damaging virus of Zionism, all operate in this way. And I want to get to the point, and the point is that when you separate the actual person and the virus, you start seeing things very differently, and then you can really start to develop compassion towards the situation. And then you can attack the virus while loving the person. And I think that this is the only way to really get to people, even though it's very, very difficult and it mostly does not work.
Yeah.
This is the only way, if anything.
Yeah, and so. Yeah, and I felt in some level we achieved it because we were speaking about it. But honestly, it was very hard for me to hear him speak like this.
Your uncle?
It wasn't my uncle.
Your
my
cousin?
Uncle wasn't involved yet.
Okay, yes. Okay.
But we were continue to speak about it, and I also, because I became like non-apologetical, like I started saying, I feel that the Zionist narrative is a lie. I told him, I quite understand why Palestinians don't accept Zionism at all, and why they don't want to also compromise with it, because they understand that Zionism in any form means their expulsion and subjugation. It cannot.
But the thing is that this mind virus called Zionism is a self-perpetuating. This is one of the ways that it preserves itself, by being a self-perpetuating circular logic kind of thing, right? So we talked about this before as well. That the way that Zionism operates is it creates a situation which deterministically justifies itself. So you want to elaborate on this?
Yeah.
Because you had this thought, right?
I had this thought, yeah.
Yes, so please explain it.
I thought that the Zionists always say that the reason we have to exterminate Palestinians, expel them, control them in a very, totalitarian manner.
Yes.
All this stuff is needed because they are not accepting us. They don't accept.
They are violent toward us.
Violent, yeah, and that's why we always need to collectively punish all of them.
Yes.
Because we don't have...
Because they don't accept our peace offers.
Yeah, and what can we do? Like, it's one of the... I feel it's really one of the really important parts of Zionism is this...
Yes, all the arguments actually boil down to this.
Yeah, and Golda Meir put it in very, clear level, like, we will never forgive the Arabs for making us kill their children. Like,
yes.
We have to kill children, we have to expel, we have to erase villages, we have to,
because they make us do it.
Because they make us do it.
Yes.
And they always want to emphasize how it's the nature of the Palestinians who make them so stubborn, so, aggressive. And the point they miss that actually the Palestinian people behave in a very, very predictable way, and they behave in all the sorts and variety of ways that people
could react to such an injustice.
To this oppression. And there's so many Palestinians who try not to resist. So many Palestinians who try to accept the occupation.
And just want to go about their lives.
And just want and try to,
And some Palestinians do choose resistance.
Yeah.
Like you would, by the way. You are doing it right now. This genocide that you are doing is a form of resistance to the Palestinian call for liberation. You are resisting it, right?
Yeah.
Why? Because you don't like it. And you're resisting it more violently, objectively, more violently than the Palestinians resisted to your subjugation and oppression.
Way more violently.
Yes, yes.
And so there's always this thing that they always punish everyone.
Yes.
And in any sort of this kind of this system, some people going to resist.
Yes.
And then every time this group resists in some level, all the population gets punished in a way that makes the Zionist movement advance in their plan farther.
And thus fueling the resistance more and more in a self-perpetuating process. This is a self-perpetuation again and again and again.
Yeah, and the resistance is also the outside resistance in this case. And I think, Hamas understood this process, and they say the only way to bring about the Palestinian liberation is to make the Zionist movement go for to accelerate. But this time, the ugly face will be exposed to the world, and it will bring...
And then it will implode on itself.
Yeah, it's a kind of competition that they understood that they have to take...
the initiative. In this very violent conflict. And I just want to say also that this is the fundamental reason why Zionists always insist on denying the Nakba and denying the colonialist nature of this movement. Because if you admit that this nature is a colonialist, racist movement, and if you accept that the Nakba happened, then you must understand the Palestinian resistance, and then you don't have this excuse to keep pressuring and to keep perpetuating this mechanism. So it all starts by denying the Nakba, and this is why they are so resistant to us trying to raise the Nakba as a historical event that is meaningful and that explains the resistance of the Palestinians, and also all the oppression. That followed it, okay? The ongoing genocide, and the genocide has not been going on for 6 months. It has been going on for over 75 years.
Yeah, because the Zionism plays with the Palestinian a zero-sum game. It's not like, I think in a way, this genocide, it's like everything is so deterministic, like you expel people, you try to push them away, and you try to hold them in a situation where some is going to resist for sure, and then you go for another.
And this connects back to the Haggadah, because בכל דור ודור קמים עלינו לכלותנו, in every generation they rise upon us to exterminate us, and so it was Pharaoh, and then it was the Greeks, and then it was the Romans, and then it was the Nazis, and now the Palestinians are the new Nazis, and this is why, if you don't understand why so many politicians in Israel, and so many public figures in Israel, and so many just plain folk in Israel are comparing the Palestinians to Nazis, this is why. Because this is the new generation of this eternal threat on the Jewish people, and this is the way, if you are wondering how they can keep playing the victim so long and not seeing the contradiction, it's because they truly believe that they are the victims of the Palestinians. They truly, deeply believe it, and the narrative of Zionism strengthens it all the time, from all directions, from the media, from society, from everything.
Yeah, and this is a good timing to say that at some point my uncle burst into the one with the heart. He held himself, he heard this, and before they were about to leave, he just burst inside, and he says like that he's tired of this diaspora Jew mentality. You see, that's why I thought it's good, because it's just what you talked about. It's this, because he says you are part of the, and he said like the Palestinians have nothing constructive in their nationality and their culture. All they have no,
as opposed to you.
Yeah, they have no real intellectual heroes. They just, all their life is about
I must say that this is completely untrue.
Yeah, I told him, what are you talking about? But he just shouted every time. It just comes from like, you know, and you feel like someone shouts it from a place.
And it's derangement. I cannot describe it differently.
And he shouts from a place that like really somebody is now going to chase and kill him. And he told me there is someone with a knife to your neck, and you were talking about to me to the rights of this somebody, and then he told me, I don't care if million people is gonna die in Gaza, it's gonna be the Hamas fault, they all bring bow to themselves, even if million people...
And again, it's always the fault of the Palestinians, always.
And he really shouted, and it was very painful, and I told him like you were talking like a straightforward Nazi. But I remained calm, but I said like,
that's good.
That's how you
That's
talk.
good, I would lose it. I have lost it in such situations.
And my sister were trying to tell him, and he said it doesn't matter. She told him like, we love you, but we see stuff. And he said like, I don't care what you say. There is no two sides to this position. There is no your opinion and one opinion. I'm just being more and more and more into my view, and you will never change it, and you will never make
Which is what is happening.
Yeah, and he told me like, you will never make me, I will never look at the reality from your point of view, never.
And the lady doth protest too much.
And
because he knows that you are right deep inside. And this is
my sister was like, told him very relaxed, you know, we're the same like you, but from the other side. That we will never gonna see stuff like you see it.
But you know, I think that he is lying. I think I truly, you know what? If I didn't think this, I would have to kill myself like you, like you said before. Okay. I truly believe that deep inside them, their heart of hearts sees the insanity and sees. I think whenever I was, you know, in a situation where some mind virus was controlling me, okay, and I was in such situations, okay. I think on some level I always knew that something was wrong, always on a deep level, and this deep core of moral integrity is what we need to strengthen. And this, you know, in the struggle between the virus and the person, this is the person, and this connects to existentialist philosophy. And I think I was telling you before that I always arrive to Elik's house, and then we have a conversation, and Elik has a lot of thoughts, and I have a lot of thoughts, and we discuss them, and then we start recording the episode after we like, and then all the thoughts kind of go into the episode in an organic way, which is interesting, I think. So what was my thought? What was I talking about?
You said like that if you would accept that every time you were under some
So the existentialist philosophy, I think okay. So in existentialism, Sartre, for example, he talks about the difference between existence and essence. And essence is something that was created for some purpose, okay, for some specific purpose. This is essence. And he says people, I think, all animals, and I also think all of creation is existence, okay? And he has some arguments for why people are existence.
We're not a made-up thing. We create our own.
This is why existentialism must be atheistic at its core. Because it doesn't think that humankind was created for a certain purpose.
Even also religions say you have freedom, and it's very essential to many religions as well.
Okay, yes, but in any case, existentialism says that we are existence. Okay, and what is existence? Existence is something that is not created for a certain purpose. This connects back to if you are essence, then you are enslaved. If you are existence, then you are free. And this is the freedom that Sartre and other existential philosophers emphasize. And I think that if we want to deal with a situation where people are not free, when they become essence because this mind virus enslaves them, okay, then we have to speak to their heart of hearts. We have to strengthen the existence inside them, and we have to empower them to free themselves from this virus.
You know, you said it, you saying it, and I don't know, like...
Sometimes the situation is very dark.
I don't know how. You know, the only thing that was a bit, I don't know if it gives hope, but this uncle at the end, like after he burst, he just gave me a really strong hug, and he said, I just want you to know that I love you, like, no matter what.
Yes.
And you will always, like, dear to my heart, no matter what you say.
Yes.
And I told him I feel the same about you.
Yes.
But will it make him listen, like...
I think that this is the spiritual process, okay? To understand that there is love here, to understand that there are people here with hearts, with minds, and to help each other grow. And I know that this is like a very, maybe, let's say, naive thing of me to say in a situation where a genocide is happening, but I don't know what else to say. I don't know a better thing to say. I think this is a very dark situation. And I think that the only way to go beyond this darkness is to really see this and connect to the deep part inside us that wants to live, that wants to be together, that wants to cooperate, that wants to love, that wants to accept, that wants to understand, that wants to learn, that wants to evolve.
But you know, I think, what if I had like a close Palestinian friend that I will want him to dinner and he will have to listen to this?
Yes, it's horrible. Yes, it's horrible. Yes. So, I had a very different Seder experience. I will just say briefly that we had a radical Seder with friends where we read a few stuff from the Haggadah and interpret, or mentioned a few stuff from the Haggadah and interpret that the messages in a radical way. And I think that the Haggadah is a platform that you can read radically and talk seriously about liberation. I think some parts of it.
Yes.
And if you read it critically, then you can really make use of it to think about these ideas of freedom. We had like a ceremony that we did, and we lit candles, and we talked about what we dream about the future, and we had and a vegan meal, and we talked about liberation of all animals and ourselves, and philosophical discussions about what is going on here and about the ideas of freedom and liberation. And I think let's finish. Let's go back to your uncle, okay?
Okay.
And you had a question about something I said, right?
Yeah, because you said you kind of never lose hope.
Yes.
And you know, I feel in a strange position, but because of this love that I have to this person, I feel the paradox, and sometimes I feel the paradox like as an insolvable problem, because I feel I cannot not love this person. In a way, if I could just cut off people from my life because of their beliefs, that at this point in time, this set of belief in a majority part of the population, that's what enables the mass murder
Yes.
that happens in Gaza and in the West Bank. Like,
Yes.
and this kind of mindset can drag the whole region to a third world
Yes.
war. Like,
Yes.
all the possibilities now are on the table, and I'm thinking, I don't know what to do about it. Because if this person can believe that, so what a chance and hope do we have for humanity? And you had something to say about it.
Yes, it makes me very anxious to hear it, but what really helps me is to believe. Okay, so here is the way I think about it. Your uncle has built a web of lies, a house of cards, okay, that is lie upon lie upon lie upon lie upon lie upon lie. And lies are the thing that cannot withstand reality in the end. And I do not want to lie, and I do not want to support lying. I do want to support the people, okay, and all animals. And that is why I think that the best way to go about this is to speak to your uncle's love for you, okay, to this part of you that is connected with love, and to speak to the loving part of him, and this still exists.
Yeah.
And to tell him in a vulnerable way how you feel about the situation. And I think the more vulnerable we are, the more powerful we are.
Yeah. It's also not paradox, but some kind.
Yes, it's a superficial contradiction, but I think deeply it's just true.
Yeah. I thought, like, my uncle told me, you are like the diaspora Jew. And what is the diaspora Jew in his mind? It's a slave to a situation that it's actually, in truth, is the situation of the Palestinians right now. That you are very, very vulnerable to some, like, ruthless system, and you have no means to defend yourself, no serious means.
Yes.
And he have this, his mind is built into this trauma that you don't have a possibility between being oppressed or oppressor.
Yes.
You have to pick. And this is also the tribal way of thought. Yeah, and they say you have to stick to your tribe and try to make us in the oppressor part, because your universal ethics is just like missing the point, that we're in a struggle for survival and we don't have this imaginable third option of just living as equals.
You see, this is the heart of the actual discussion.
Yeah.
This is where the actual discussion starts. And I think maybe we should address this part much more when we talk about this issue, and when we talk to Zionists especially. Like that we are offering something else, that we believe that the truth is something else, that the truth is not separation, that the truth is togetherness, is peace, is justice, is democracy, is liberation, true liberation.
Yes, and I think being truly liberated is to be liberated from that dynamic in either part of it. When I'm in the part of the oppressor, I am not free as well. And this is, and when I want to celebrate a holiday that talking about liberation, it's both for the Palestinians and for the Jews and the Israelis and all the people who live here,
and all animals,
and
all of the world.
Yes, and we talk about this situation because we feel that, first of all, we are here and we are connected to it, and our faith is connected to this specific situation. But we also feel, and I think many people in the world feel that right now, that it symbolizes that this, like now, this is the center of the pain. It could be the center of the healing if we succeed to do it.
Yes, so this is a monumental task, but the reward would be very high, so we want to try.
Yes.
And I want to maybe finish with a quote that I don't know who this quote is by, but
Sorry.
yeah, bless you.
Yes.
So I don't know who this quote is by, but the quote says, "Until all of us are free, none of us are free."
Yes.
Okay, and this I truly believe that liberation must be for everyone, and if it's not for everyone, then it's not true liberation.
Yeah, and I think now when we said it, people from outside can look at the Zionist case and say, look what happens to people when you allow them to stay in this
Yes.
master and slave dynamic for a long time. Look what it makes them become, even if they're good, even if they're warm-hearted that will never hurt a fly in their personal life, they can become people who justify genocide.
And this is happening on many different levels. On the level of patriarchy, look at what men have become. In the level of racial supremacy, look at what white people in the United States and in many other places have become. Also colonialists, also genocidal, also enslaving other peoples. And on many other, look at the dynamics of capitalism, late stage capitalism, where rich people are exploiting poor people all over the world. And this is something that we have to address more and more and more. We have to understand the mechanisms that are involved in perpetuating this situation, and we have to resist those processes effectively as we can. And this is part of the conversation that we are having. So, any final remarks before we finish?
Maybe that for me also true liberation must mean anarchy, and I cannot compromise on this, and because I think like a free person is only a person who believes that nobody is allowed to rule him. He believes that he can be good and believe that he can make moral choices. And it's not, I don't need anyone to force me to be good, you know?
Yes, I want to be good.
Yeah, and I cannot make other people good by force as well. That's also...
I can only speak to their hearts.
Yeah, and that's why I believe that the healing process is an anarchic process. And even though, like, I understand that sometimes you need to resist violence with force, and that basically it's non-violent. What I do, I don't know.
What I support is a non-violent world. This I know. What I support is reducing the level of violence everywhere. This is what I know. This is why I'm a pacifist as well. Okay, guys. So thank you for watching us, and peace, justice, liberation for all.